RuneScape is a nearly 23-year-old game, 3 years older than I am. It's undoubtedly one of the most well-known and popular MMOs of all time and still has a massive player base 20 years after its original creation. Not to mention it still receives consistent updates from the development team. It's nearly unheard of for any game's life cycle to last this long and to be this successful throughout it. Even as iconic and well known as RuneScape is, I've never played or honestly even watched much content about it until just a little bit less than a month ago. That is when I started my RuneScape journey, and throughout this video, I'll be talking about my first 30 hours of playing the game. RuneScape has an immediate obstacle that almost no other MMO I've ever played has had. And that obstacle is the fact that it forces new players to choose between two different versions of the game. There is a new school version of RuneScape and an old school version of RuneScape. I will do my best here to describe the differences between these versions and my reasoning for choosing one over the other. The first step I took to try and decide what version of the game to play was by playing through the tutorials for both versions of the game. This honestly did not help at all, because the tutorials are essentially exactly the same, except for a few minor details. After learning that the tutorials clearly weren't going to help me make this decision, I decided to put about 5 hours into both old school and new school to decide which one I ultimately enjoyed more. The differences between old and new school were incredibly apparent as soon as you left the tutorial island. New school teleported you to a version of Lumbridge that was essentially an extension of the tutorial island. Everything you needed was very close by, and this really put me off new school right away. The setup for the city made absolutely no sense, from a city planner angle at least, and was clearly set up just to be a tutorial, even though you just got done with the tutorial. This really killed the world building and immersiveness of the game for me because nothing made sense where it was placed. The map almost looked cluttered and junky because of how haphazardly things were thrown around. Old school versions of Lumbridge was completely different. Instead of being cluttered with everything you could ever need, it was just a castle with a few buildings and farms around it. The world immediately felt more immersive because of the setup of the area was so much more realistic. Lumbridge in old school didn't just feel like an extension of the tutorial, but instead it felt like the starting point for your epic journey moving forward. Based on my first initial thoughts, you can clearly tell that I enjoyed the setting of old school more, but now I need to get into the details of the differences of combat, XP, quests, and graphics, and some other things that aren't important enough to directly say. There is a significant difference between the combat in new and old school. In new school, a stat called adrenaline becomes extremely important. It dictates what moves and spells that you can use during combat, and you generate it from basic attacks. I honestly never fully understood this mechanic and felt as though it was just an attempt to make the combat system more complex than it needed to be. It would have made a lot more sense just to put cooldown timers on the abilities used, and not base it off both cooldowns and adrenaline. In old school combat, at least at the point I'm currently at, it involves clicking on an enemy and doing nothing else. Sometimes this can get a little bit more complex if you're using a variety of different spells, but for ranged and melee, a click seems to be all I need. My initial thoughts, which have since changed, were that new school's combat system was more complex than it needed to be, and old school's was much too simple. Keep in mind, this is the first 5 hours of both games I've played, so don't give me too much shit in the comments for this opinion here, guys, okay? This is my first 5 hours! The next difference between old school and new that I wanted to talk about is the XP gain. There isn't a ton to talk about here, but I think it's important to point out how much less grindy new school is compared to old school. I feel as though I leveled up twice as fast while playing new school as compared to when I was playing old school. Basically, if you want a less grindy game, new school is for you. But if you like the grindy aspect of most MMOs, old school has exactly what you want. New School RuneScape is possibly one of the most hand-holdy games I've ever played. You would be completely brain dead and easily still complete and figure out almost every single quest and requirement in the game. At least that's my experience that I had in the first 5 hours of play. I don't think there was a single moment that I had to think about anything when playing through New School. Old School is the complete opposite of that. The quest can throw you to the sharks a lot of the time and never, ever feel hand-holdy. Completing even a simple task or quest in old school seems like an achievement because you had to figure it out all on your own. Also, from the quests that I've played of each, New School just seemed to have you do a lot more of things for like shits and giggles and serve as an extended tutorial basically, while Old School had you help the people of the area and learn some basic skills while keeping you immersed in the game. Honestly, throughout my entire time playing New School, there wasn't a single character whose story or quest I cared about. This is an easy point in favor of Old School in my opinion, unlike the other things we've already discussed here, where my opinions on the game are closer. Graphics themselves are something that I don't really want to talk about too much. Everyone is going to have a different, completely valid opinion on what version of the game looks better. I honestly prefer the Old School graphics myself, but this was honestly far from the deciding factor when I was making my final choice. However, the ease of life features that were provided in New School that were absent in Old School were certainly something that made an important difference in my mind. For example, agility in New School doesn't really exist. You can just always run everywhere, which is extremely nice. In Old School, you constantly run out of energy, and it causes you to move from place to place extremely slowly. Movement in Old School RuneScape honestly feels terrible until you take a ton of time to get used to it, especially if you're coming from playing New School first. New School also has features that help you carry items faster that are available to you right away, such as ore boxes and the ability to store both ore and ingots in smithing areas so you don't have to transport them to different areas whenever you want to smith. Honestly, just the ore box, infinite sprint time, and the smithing setup are 3 huge ease of life features that I found right away, while they have been completely absent so far in my time playing Old School RuneScape. And I really want to harp on this, is I imagine there's a lot more ease of life features down the road for New School RuneScape than there is for Old School as well. Everything I've said so far is what I had to think about before picking which version of RuneScape I should play. I can honestly say that I've never had to play and choose between 2 versions of the same game before, and this choice being forced on you is honestly a pretty big hurdle for a new player to experience. It honestly says a lot about how intriguing and addicting RuneScape is to still manage to grow its player base even with such a big hurdle new players have to go through to enjoy the game. Anyway, I managed to work through this obstacle, and as many of you can probably tell based off of the videos that are on my channel right now, I ended up choosing to take my talents to Old School RuneScape. It was a decision as important as LeBron choosing to leave the Cleveland Cavs and join the Miami Heat. I am a Cleveland Cavs fan, by the way. I didn't like that decision. Anyway, I'll let you know the deciding factors in my decision to play Old School RuneScape. The first and possibly biggest issue that I had with the New School RuneScape is that it felt like the world was just crafted to accomplish tasks in, where things were didn't make much sense, and the quests I was asked to do in those first 5 hours just seemed pointless and lacking in substance. Like I said, for the first 5 hours it felt like an extension of the tutorial island, and that is not a good feeling. The Lumbridge in Old School did a much better job of making the world feel real, and that the things you accomplish actually have some substance. Like helping the chef really made me feel like I was positively affecting the world. Fuck that guy. While in New School, I got told to go kill goblins because it was a part of an extended tutorial pretty much. The second reason I chose Old School is because of how quests were done. I'm not a huge fan of games completely holding your hand and directing you right to the objective without letting you experience things on your own. I understand people with stricter time restraints might prefer questing like that, but I do enjoy feeling like I accomplished something when I go on these quests. Finally, I honestly really enjoy the grind of certain games, and Old School RuneScape was by far more grindy than New School. These are probably the 3 biggest reasons that I chose Old School over New School, but there are a lot of others as well. I won't really get too deep into them though, folks, because this isn't supposed to be a video about what game to choose, but about my experience with RuneScape as a whole. After I officially chose what version of RuneScape I wanted to play, the real journey started. And this is when I immediately hit some road bumps. You guys know how I said that the New School RuneScape was extremely hand-holdy, and the start of the game felt like an extended tutorial? Well, Old School is the complete opposite of that, unfortunately. It kind of just drops you next to the Lumbridge Castle and tells you to go around talking to people to try to find quests and start your adventuring journey. While I said I don't like games being too hand-holdy, this was even a bit extreme for me. Just being dropped into this expansive and complicated world without a single idea on what to do. The only thing that it does help you is getting you started by telling you what adventuring paths are. So the adventure paths are where I decided to start my RuneScape journey. At the very beginning of the game, Adventurer John instantly became my very best friend. He provided me with really the only bit of guidance you get, and that guidance was in the form of combat guides and gatherer guides. Basically, he tells you to level up basic combat and gathering skills, and in return you'll receive rewards from him. So essentially, that's what I started doing. I remember destroying so many goblins. I was basically the goblin exterminator. Also, can we talk about the goblin issue surrounding Lumbridge real quick? Just off topic. This is actually relevant because when I first started playing RuneScape, I thought about this a lot. Why is there so many goblins just right next to the castle? I mean, there's usually one just chilling in the general store. So my question is, why? I really don't know anything about the lore of RuneScape yet, even after my 30 hours of play, but are goblins just chill? They don't seem like they're supposed to be chill. They seem like they're supposed to be enemies, especially based on New School RuneScape's early quest. Anyway, this might be a discussion to be had in a later video. I just find it weird that Lumbridge is completely overtaken by goblins in the farms, in the farmhouses, in the animal pens, I mean everywhere. But anyway, I grinded destroying these pathetic creatures until my attack, defense, and strength had all reached level 15. I didn't realize Lunge gave XP to all of them at once, so I took turns at alternating between all the different attack styles. Once I had gotten them to 15, I went back to Adventurer John and received my non-member rewards for leveling up my stats. I don't remember exactly what I got, but I know that I got some armor, which started a feeling inside of me, an irresistible urge to create a full set of copper armor. I would probably say I spent at least 5 to 6 hours of my time straight up just mining and smithing, and trying to find places where I could mine. I have no idea why, but I just couldn't stop. The goal I'd given myself was to create a full set of copper armor with weapons included. This is not what I recommend doing during your first time playing RuneScape. You just spend your first hours of the game exploring new areas and completing all the free-to-play quests that you can. But instead, I grinded out copper armor and then decided to grind out iron armor as well. The copper armor didn't take too long. The iron armor is where I wasted most of my time. First, I had to find a place to mine iron ore, and naturally that led me to the desert. Since there was a furnace in Al-Kharid, that is where I could smelt my iron ore. Next came the hard part, finding an anvil that I could use to smith iron gear. Unfortunately, the only anvil I seemed to be able to find that could smith iron gear was on a giant mountain that also just happened to have giants on it. This was a pretty far walk from Al-Kharid, and I did trip after trip just trying to create more and more iron gear. And obviously I didn't have the smithing level to make full iron gear right away, so I had to spend ages just crafting iron swords over and over again until I could finally craft the full set. As you could guess, traveling between the mine spot north of Al-Kharid, back to Al-Kharid, then to the anvil on the mountain filled with giants, and then back to Al-Kharid again to sell smith items took a significant amount of time. However, I was dead set on completing my iron set until I left Al-Kharid once again and then went on my way to the mines north of it to collect more iron. While I was on my way to get more iron ore, I saw a bunch of it just lying on the ground right next to a random player. Thinking that it was just laying there for no reason, I ran up on it and grabbed an entire inventory worth of iron ore. I was so excited to grab it that I already picked all of it up before even thinking that could possibly belong to the player named Young Gang that was standing right next to the iron. So naturally, I asked them if it was their iron ore and if they wanted me to drop it if it was. They responded by telling me that they were just leveling mining, that I could have all the ore that they were dropping. I then did several trips between Al-Kharid and the mine area, just picking up all the ore they were leaving on the ground and depositing it in my bank. Each time that I went back to get more, we had a friendly conversation. Little did I know that talking to this random person would improve my RuneScape experience by tenfold. After a little while of talking, Young Gang would eventually add me as a friend, and then told me to meet him next to the bank in Al-Kharid. When I met up with him, he offered me all kinds of items in gold. Keep in mind that he had no idea that I was a YouTuber, or anything to him. I was just a random noob who started playing the game a couple days ago. I couldn't even accept the trade because of how new my account was. He was literally just willing to offer tons of help to a brand new player because he's just genuinely a nice guy. Not only did he offer me a ton of loot and eventually give it to me, but he also invited me to his clan. The clan that Young Gain invited me to was called Clan Generous. And it's called Generous for a reason. Joining this clan was honestly one of the best things that could have happened to me in my RuneScape career. As soon as I joined, everybody welcomed me with open arms. Playing RuneScape in a clan or with a bunch of friends is absolutely the way to go. It makes the experience 10 times more fun and gives you some people to chat with while you might be grinding some of the more boring tasks in the game. Not only did it add some companionship to my RuneScape gaming time, but it also opened up a wealth of knowledge. A lot of the people in Clan Generous, such as leader Laughing-Bot and of course Young Gang, have a ton of experience playing RuneScape, and almost everybody in the clan is happy to pass on any knowledge that they might have in order to help newer players improve their early RuneScape journey. Whether it's basic advice on what quests you should do first, or if it's more complicated stuff, like the best way to kill certain bosses, someone in the clan is always willing to take some time out of their day to advise you. Not only did the clan give me lots of advice, they also set me up with basic ranged and magic kits with tons of runes and arrows so I could quickly level those abilities. 3 different people have gifted me beginner items to help me level, just because I'm a new player. It's hard for me to emphasize how much having a clan or a group of friends to play with improves the RuneScape experience. I was enjoying the game before even joining the clan, but like I said, it became so much more than that after joining the clan. So one of my biggest pieces of advice for new players is to try and find a clan to join or to start playing the game with some of your friends. If you're interested in joining my clan, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you after talking to some of the clan leaders. After joining the clan, one of the things that multiple clan members told me to do, along with tons of you guys in the comments, was to download Runelight. I was told that it was a superior way to play RuneScape, and that would make your experience way better after downloading it. So that's what I did. I linked my Steam account with a new RuneScape account, and I was able to access the Runelight launcher through the Jagex launcher, and start playing RuneScape through Runelight. Honestly, it took me longer than it probably should have to figure this out. My initial thoughts on Runelight weren't as positive as I thought they would be, based on how positive everyone was about it. As a new player, almost every piece of information it provided didn't make sense to me, and it was just like a cluttered mess on the screen, really, just trying to go through it. Even now, I'm not really a huge fan of the Runelight client by itself. However, the plugins that come with Runelight are amazing and absolutely make it worth the download for new players. The 2 best plugins to use are the 117 HD plugin that honestly makes RuneScape look amazing, and the Quest Helper plugin. The 117 HD plugin is huge in my opinion, and it makes the game look so much better. So I would absolutely recommend it no matter the circumstance. The Quest Helper is a bit more complicated. Generally, I would say not to use it because it negatively affects the experience of figuring things out for yourself. However, if you ever get stuck on a puzzle or quest that's taking way too long, I recommend having it downloaded just so you can, quickly get advice or help when you need it. Helps you find items, stuff like that. It will definitely streamline the process of completing early quests and getting you some quick XP, instead of constantly being stuck on random things like the ciphers. Oh lord, the ciphers. They don't make no sense, and they don't help you out at all. But, forget about the ciphers, there are also a ton of other plugins that can be used with Runelight that I'm not as familiar with. So people in the comments, go ahead and drop some of your favorite plugins so that all us new players can check them out. Also, while I'm plugging my comic section, I'll go ahead and plug my channel too. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I honestly don't know if I've ever put as much work into a video as I have this one, so I hope you guys are enjoying it, and, let me, give me some love in the comments, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? After completing the majority of free-to-play quests and getting tired of how agility has been negatively affecting my playing experience, I finally gave in and got a membership. And when I mean give in, I really do mean it. I had no intention of getting a membership for a while longer because I was trying to get the full free-to-play new player experience. However, agility pushed me over the edge and I could wait no longer. Since I didn't know what energy drinks were, or that I could take off armor to regenerate energy faster, I was really down bad. So naturally, the first thing I did once I bought the membership was just work on agility. Now, I don't recommend training agility right away when you get a membership, because honestly, no matter whether you train your agility a ton or not, it's not going to be a problem. Instead, I'd recommend using the first moments of your membership to complete quests that you weren't able to before. Quests are honestly the fastest way to level up, and doing tons of quests early will honestly make grinding feel kind of pointless. A membership adds all sorts of cool things you can do in the game, but I honestly can't talk too much about them because I've basically only worked on agility, or I've done member only quests since getting my membership. Slayer is something that I heard was super fun, but I've yet to even try it out. I wish I could give you guys more info on how it feels being a member, but this video is coming from a noob, so I honestly just don't have that experience yet. So this is where I want to put my final thoughts on the game and this video. First, I know this video was kind of all over the place, and multiple parts of it could have probably been videos on their own. However, the point of this video was to try and summarize all my experiences and thoughts with RuneScape as a brand new player, and I honestly hope that I did that well. RuneScape is such a large and complex game when it really kind of portrays itself as something really simple at first. So getting into the game was by far the hardest part for me, but after a short bit of fumbling around, I really felt the world open up and my enjoyment of the game skyrocketed. I don't know why I said skyrocket. I would honestly heavily recommend this game to anyone who enjoys MMOs and RPGs as well. You'll probably quickly be entranced by this world and enjoy countless hours playing this game. I expect myself to put countless more hours into this game myself and upload tons of videos about my first experiences while playing through it, as I've already done, because I've honestly fallen in love with both the community and the game itself. Now, that's not to say the game is perfect. There are absolutely a decent amount of things to complain about, and I complain about a decent amount of them throughout this video, I feel like. However, the good things heavily outweigh the bad, and this is, my honest opinion is that this is a really good game. I also want to make a point to say that the grind of this game is incredibly overhyped. Yes, at the extreme higher levels and late game, there is a ton of grind. However, throughout my first 30 hours, the only times I grinded were because I chose to do so, not because I had to. There are so many quests, and you can constantly be doing them without break until later stages of the game, which is why I recommend questing as the #1 thing to do. Anyway, this is the end of my video, so, like, subscribe, and play RuneScape. Hit me up in game if you want to. My name is Game Fanatic Cook, the same name as the channel. I am a member of the best clan of all of RuneScape, Clan Generous. Huge shout out to them and everyone in the clan for, just supporting me throughout my RuneScape journey. I also want to give a special shout out to several of my clan members for helping with this video, or just for helping me in general throughout the game. Young Ang, Laughing Bot, Silly Witch, Z12, Yeshia, I don't know how to say your name, man. I apologize if I said it wrong. But there are many others who have helped me out as well. But these folks in particular have really went above and beyond in providing guidance or items and help me in my RuneScape journey. I also want to give a very special shout out to our one and only member of this channel. His name is Special Ed, so huge shout out to Special Ed. And here's the graphic I put up for him at the end of videos. Anyway, just thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys want to see more of in the future. If you guys like the RuneScape content, I've been loving it. But stay blessed, guys. Have a good one.